What's up, you guys? Welcome back. All right, let's do a little check-in. You know, whenever you find these readings is when you're meant to find them. There's no time limit. Like, if you resonate with the title, click on it. If this just lands on your feed, you were meant to hear it. That's how I do these readings. So just kind of like a general check-in. And by the way, when I pull the cards, because I always pull usually 3 cards, it's always like what's influencing the present moment first, the sort of present energy, and then what's most likely to come if you continue on this path. Because remember, the power of tarot is that you can make changes. Like, things are not set in stone. It's up to you. So if you don't like the sort of outcome that's showing up, then you have to transform that within yourself, you know? So with that said, let's see what wants to come through tonight. What do we need to know? I'm not even going to look at the cards, actually. I kind of am enjoying doing it this way. So I'm going to pull 3. I'm going to pull, again, sort of what's influencing the now, current energy, what's coming. Okay, under the deck, 4 of Pentacles, and let's pull an oracle card on each. All right, 1, 2, and 3. Under the deck, to me, is like the subconscious energy. What's influencing things, but you're not seeing it clearly. Okay. There is this sort of hoarding energy, this holding on, 4 of Pentacles, and then the Hanged Man is about needing to get a different perspective, particularly a spiritual perspective on things, and then it's coming with the Mystic of Peace reversed. And it says on this card, the Mystic of Peace, I am peace when my mind is clear, the way is clear. If you're grasping and holding on right now to, I don't know, a situation that you know is not serving you anymore, like on a higher level, it's like you've outgrown it, but you're still clinging to it, or you're clinging to a situation for financial reasons, or you're holding on to a job that you hate simply because it pays the bills, but like, you know you need to start taking steps in a new direction, but you're just not doing it. Like, wherever it is that you're clinging, where you have an attachment, like an unhealthy attachment, you know, in Buddhism, there are different kinds of attachment, right? There are 3 poisons in Buddhism. The first poison is, these are what prevent enlightenment. I'll just share these with you because they are about attachment. There's ignorant grasping. So when you're holding on to something thinking that that's the source of your joy or your pain, whatever, right? Or I would say joy in this case, ignorant grasping. Then there's ignorant aversion, where you're pushing things away thinking, oh, the pain or the suffering is coming from that thing. Instead of it coming from us, you think it's coming from out there. And then ignorance itself. So ignorant craving, ignorant aversion, and ignorance itself. And so, sorry, I thought something was clicking on my computer. So any type of attachment in this sense is not understanding the true nature of reality. By the way, I'm teaching a class. I'm going to start teaching Dharma this year, like very intentionally. And I'm starting with love and relationship because Valentine's Day is coming. So in February, I'm teaching a class called BLISS, How to Love and Be Loved Using Tibetan Buddhist Wisdom. So the page will be up like probably tomorrow. And I'll probably have like a little bit of a little wait list, just short-term wait list, just so I can see how many people want to do the class. So I can decide, because I want to do it live, like do live calls, and I'll probably do them in the evenings, probably on Wednesday nights, Tuesdays or Wednesday nights. So, but I'm just kind of curious to get an idea of how many people want to take it before I decide that. So anyway, stay tuned because I'm going to teach some foundational, like how to use Buddhist wisdom for your relationship specifically. And it doesn't matter if you're single or in a relationship or just want deeper connection. I'm going to give you some of the basics. And for example, those 3 poisons are very important because all the ways that we grasp to things or push them away without understanding that it's coming from us, not from the thing, the experience and the karma, we'll go deeper into it. So there is an element of grasping here, an element of like either holding on or clinging to something, but you haven't had, like, you need a spiritual insight around this. You need to gain some higher clarity. And the way to do that, in my opinion, is to meditate. I mean, there are a million ways, right? Like, there's tons of different modalities to become enlightened, but the reason I started studying Buddhism in the first place is because it is an ancient lineage that has been proven to work. So to me, I'm like, follow the logic. It is actually a very logical school of thought. So for those of you out there that are like more analytical, you'll like love this type of the things that I'm going to be teaching. Anyway, let's continue. So influencing the present moment, we've got the Empress reversed. So there's like a distorted feminine energy here. And then we've got Lolita, the opposite. It says the red goddess. Playfulness is a spiritual power. Laughter leads me back to the light. I love this is coming up because this is, I told you guys in the last reading, my word for 2025 is joy. That's just my intention for this year. And part of that is because, I mean, to me, the best spiritual teachers, for example, are the ones who have a great sense of humor. If you take yourself too seriously and you're fucking high on your own supply, like I don't trust those people. I think that the ultimate embodiment is playfulness. Because yes, sometimes life is serious. Life is suffering. First noble truth, life is suffering. We're here in samsara, this realm of suffering, because we're not enlightened yet. All right. Once we can integrate the playfulness, like you're truly starting to embody your full energy, because it's not all meant to be serious. It's like the cosmic joke. People that take themselves super seriously, I'm always like, I'm not drawn to those kind of teachers, you know? I love a dark sense of humor and an ability to be playful with the teaching and almost irreverent, because I think that's when you're really getting it. So there's a need to be more playful. So I'm happy that's showing up, because that's also my intention. And that's why I'm like weaving in more of that in everything that I'm doing. So like on my Instagram, like playing more, like sharing more art and more, you know, humor, and like making these teachings more relatable and accessible, because I do use humor as a way to integrate things and to just like get through life. So you probably need a major infusion of play and joy. And it isn't easy, you know, always to stay rooted in that when life throws you a shit storm or whatever shit happens. I believe we're creating it all, but like life is still happening. So there will be painful things that will arise. There will be challenges. There will be resistance, you know, moments where you're like, I don't want to deal with this. And it's hard to stay connected sometimes to joy in those times. But I think those are the times we need it the most. So the more that, I don't know, for me, the more that I can share that, the more that people like can plug into that energy, I think it really helps. And also just like finding community. I feel very blessed that in my spiritual community, I study with 3 Jewels in New York City. Like they're so fun. Like my teacher Hector is so fun. He makes it, he knows when to get real and when to be serious. But generally speaking, like he is really playful. And I love that. He has a very dark sense of humor. So I'm glad that energy's showing up. That's why like a distorted feminine energy could be a real disconnect with your body, with your sensuality. Like you might be too in your head, you know, too much in the logic and analytical stuff, so far on the end of that spectrum that you've lost touch with the other side of you, the playful, creative, and even like feminine energetics. You know, there's Venus on the card. This card is very Venusian. And what is Venus? You know, the sign of love and sensuality and beauty. She's like the ultimate embodiment of every queen. So it's like divine feminine energy. So if this is coming in the reverse, part of you, no matter what your gender is, like to get to rebalance this energy, what the cards are saying is that playfulness is a really important piece right now. All right, so in the middle, present energy, we are getting a little bit of paranoia, a little exhaustion here. Again, 9 of Wands. You're so close to the end of a cycle, but you're feeling worn out. You're feeling tired. You're feeling, you know, he's looking like he's afraid he's going to get hurt again. And that's coming with the Saint of Spoken Words. Every word I say becomes a prayer. I'm the author of my own story. Again, very in alignment, especially with the Buddhism. Like, I believe, and the school that I study says, you know, the whole philosophy behind it is that your mind stream, like, is everything's coming from you. Not every school of Buddhism believes that. But I'm in the most radical, actually, school of thought, in the Mahayana tradition, which is the higher way. In other words, like, you're becoming enlightened for the sake of all beings, not just for your own sake. So anyways, every word you say is your story, and every word is like a prayer. It's like words are spells. So what stories are you telling? What stories are actively, like happening in your world? What are the narratives that you're currently like attached to or identifying with? Because that's what's creating your reality over and over. So if you don't like your reality right now, then the story's got to change. The narrative needs to change. The words you're using need to change because it's coming from you. And that's really powerful because a lot of people are like speaking it into existence over and over, but they're speaking like shit into it, like shitty experiences into existence. I'm broke, love hurts, men suck, women suck, I'm a loser. I don't know. What are you speaking into existence? Because what you're saying is what you're creating. And it's a superpower move to get out of this fucking victim mode, like, and be like, wow, what if I'm creating my entire reality? That's so empowering. At first it feels triggering because you're like, I don't want to be responsible. I want to blame somebody. I want to point the finger somewhere. But when you can get past that and realize like nothing's going to change until you take full ownership, radical ownership, that is the most empowering place to be. Because from there, the possibilities are limitless. And because at least I know personally, I've experienced so much positive change when I stopped playing the victim and I was like, all right, what if there's nobody to blame? What if it's all coming from me? If it's truly all coming from me, then there's nothing to bitch about because actually I'm the one that's driving the bus, so therefore I can change things for the better. And guess what? It all started changing for the better. It's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than it used to be. So that's the present energy. It's time to get in the fucking driver's seat, as I've said again and again. It's like, I'm not saying that bad things don't happen, and I would never I'm not saying like you haven't experienced pain or that you haven't gone through what you've gone through. I'm saying you get to a point, many of us on the spiritual journey, I'll speak for myself and those that work with me directly, I work with people at the place where they're ready to take complete responsibility, total ownership, which isn't for everybody. You might not be there yet, and that's okay. I'm not judging. That's where people have to be for me to really serve them. Because if you're not there yet, then you feel helpless or you feel powerless, and I don't believe that you are. So anyways, your words are creating your story and your narrative in your life. Words are powerful. Then we're getting the Knight of Cups with Vajrayogini, the essence of all Buddhas, speaking of which, I have the power to make each moment sacred. Everything is material for my liberation. And it is, because anything that's happening in your world is happening, again, it's coming from you. And if we're here to get free, to liberate ourselves from this realm of suffering, because if you were enlightened, you would be in bliss all the time. So it's like, if we want to get to that place, then we need to free our mind. That's the only thing that's stuck. It's our mind stream that's creating our reality. So everything's happening for you, not to you. When you see life as happening for you, even when it's challenging, even when it's hard, even when it's painful, but it's happening for your liberation, for you to have a realization, to wake up to something that you're not seeing clearly, to open your heart more, to love more, to have more compassion, whatever it is. When it's happening for you instead of to you, that's where the true transformation starts to happen. So there's something here about an emotional sharing, like an emotional opening, that's really important. And if you've been struggling with opening up or sharing what's on your heart or being really vulnerable, this is coming up right. So it feels like now is the time. If words create your reality, then, and what you're desiring is for love to bloom in your life or romance to bloom, then start telling a new story. Tell a story in favor of this. AKA, again, you've got to really start to become aware, not paranoid. One of my teachers called it pronoid. Start looking for the positive. Start looking for the things that are going well and amplify those things instead of looking for everything that's quote unquote negative and not going well and then amplifying that. Well, then you're only going to get more of that. So it's not about love and light only. I'm very much like integrate your shadow. I fully embrace my dark side because there is no light without dark. Love and light only is bullshit. But what I am saying is that you can choose what you want to amplify. Because what stays in the shadows unconsciously runs your life, which is why I've got the Power and Pleasure Intensive, because it's literally a shadow work session to start to pull the stuff out from the shadows that's currently sabotaging you and your world because you're not seeing it clearly. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know it, you can't unknow it. You can try to avoid it, but you can't unsee it anymore. Then it's in the consciousness, like it's in your conscious awareness, and that's when things start to change. Again, it's about wholeness. It's about integrating. It's not about compartmentalizing and pushing things away and sweeping shit under the rug. So if what you want in your world to bloom is romance, love, connection, then number one, you need to start embodying those things fully. You cannot receive it if you're not like being it and giving it. It doesn't work that way. Everything you're doing in mind, body, and speech are the mental impressions that are being formed in your mind that are then being reflected back to you in your world. If you cling and hold on and withhold, then you're creating an impression in your mind. Through the law of karma, you are guaranteed to have that experience mirrored back to you at some point because you've created the impression. And if it's all coming from you, you're gonna have it later, right? So if what you want is for people to open up to you freely or share their love with you freely or really truly accept you, then it starts with you. You have to create those impressions in your mind of you being generous with your love, of you being more open, of you letting go of some of the expectations and the agendas and the resistance and the insecurities. Like, it's a practice, though. Nobody's doing it perfectly. If you were doing it perfectly, you wouldn't be here in Earth School. You'd be like a spirit guide or something. You'd be in another realm. You wouldn't be here. You're here because you're here to learn. So, okay. So I'm just going to pull like an advice card. Let's get an advice from this oracle deck before I wrap this up. I don't know. I think it's 16 minutes, but let's see. What do we need to know to move forward? Like, what is the advice here? Maybe I'll pull one from each. All right, what's the advice? Sweetest Taboo, one of my favorite Sade songs. Okay, it says, who taught you to be ashamed of your own lust? Who told you there was something dirty about your secret fantasies? We all have a preferred way we'd like to play, and we did get playfulness here. Remember, this is the pleasure oracle. I'll show you. So obviously these are more like erotic, kind of like sexual messages, but whatever, we can apply it. So it says, we all have a preferred way we'd like to play, but few of us have cultivated the boldness necessary to embrace what we deem taboo in ourselves. Many of us don't even know what we really want. We've never explored our sexuality enough to discover them. So it says, stepping into a truly holistic form of self-love means glimpsing the bigger picture of your attractions and appetites and embracing it all. Don't let the full potential of your pleasure remain untapped. Interview yourself and let it be no holds barred. Identify your suppressed parts and make friends with them. Date them even. Sweetest Taboo. This is literally, like I said, why I created the Power and Pleasure Intensive. It's to do this. It's to make friends with your suppressed hidden parts, because until you do, this is what sabotages your love life and your intimate life and your, like, everything, your money, your creativity, all of it. Because if it's in the shadows, it's got power, but when you pull it out into the light, it stops having this like hold on you. Remember, your subconscious mind directs 97% of your action. 97% of approximately of what you do in your life is ruled by your subconscious mind, not your conscious mind. That means literally the shit that you're not even aware of, it's what's creating your reality. Therefore, you must become more aware of what's going on in your subconscious. There are ways to do this. Like I said, I've got a session for it because I know that doing it on your own is hard to see your own blind spots. From a person like on the outside looking in, for me, I see these patterns very quickly because I've been doing this work for over 10 years with people. So anyways, this is very important. This is definitely like a shadow work card about making friends with the parts of you that are taboo, because otherwise, it's what's getting in the way of you living out a life where you truly feel joy and pleasure and you get to experience your deepest heart's desires. This isn't saying go be irresponsible, go do things that are out of integrity and go be fucking crazy, wild, and reckless. It's saying be aware that the parts that you're currently shoving away, which looks like the things you judge in other people the most harshly, the things you criticize or that make you like, ugh, like you can't stand it in other people, are your own shadow parts that you haven't integrated. That's it. That's all that it is. Because what triggers you doesn't necessarily upset the next person. Everyone's got their own unique stuff. So the advice, start to do some shadow work. Like start to integrate the parts of you that really either piss you off about other people, disgust you about other people, or about yourself. But like usually it looks like projecting it onto someone else. Like, oh, they're angry, they're deceitful, they're out of alignment, they're a liar. But then it's like, no, I'm those things. Maybe you're not currently doing it the way that they're doing it, or it's not expressing itself the same way, but if it bothers you, it's a part of you that needs to be accepted and embraced. So yeah, we'll just get one of these oracle cards. One more advice card, Spirit. Queen Esther, the morning star. My ego is in service of my soul, and I trust my soul's divine timing. Even if things feel like they're taking forever, even if it's not exactly where you want to be right now, even if you're like, why haven't I learned this lesson yet? I don't want to do this anymore, blah, blah, blah. Understand that there is a higher divine organization going on. You're exactly where you need to be. I know, I'm impatient. I'm a double fire sign. I got a Scorpio moon. I'm like, I want it now. I want it yesterday. And one of my biggest life lessons has been to have patience. Which means my lessons, a lot of them have taken me a very long time to integrate, to learn. Some of them feel unbelievably redundant, and yet when it's time, we learn them. But the more personally that I do the shadow work, and I do it in a playful way, you guys. I'm not making it super heavy. Oh my God, we're gonna like drag on and talk about our inner child for 17 hours. Fuck no. I'm pulling exercises from books like Existential Kink, an amazing shadow work book, more advanced, by this woman named Carolyn Elliott. I've got stuff from Unbound, A Woman's Guide to Power, but I also use those exercises with men, by Kasia Urbaniak, who was like a dominatrix and a Taoist nun, like studying in a monastery for 12 years, and also worked as a dominatrix in New York City for years as the head like mistress there. So I'm pulling from some really interesting, cool places to do these types of exercises, but like, that's what really starts to transform your reality, because you're no longer compartmentalizing. And when you don't put your life in little boxes and you start to integrate, guess what? Your highest potential starts to unfold. Your destiny really, truly starts to unfold. Like you really start to live out what you're here to live out fully. So, Sweetest Taboo, I'm going to name the reading that. I hope that this was helpful for you guys. This is how I can support you. You can book a 60-minute intuitive session. It's like a general session. You can come in and ask me anything. You can book the Power and Pleasure Intensive. There's an application. It's pretty short, but like there is a qualifying process there, because I need to make sure that that's what you need right now, that it's the right fit. And then everything else is on the page. Like I said, there's a little pre-work. Once I approve your application, which is right away, like I'll look at it, and within like 24 to 48 hours, I'll respond back and send you the, payment link if it's the right fit. And then we just go from there, and there's a little intake form with an exercise. That's a 90-minute session. And I've got a 3-month container right now called UNTAMED if you want more mentorship. But that's what's going on right now. So the 2 entry points would be an intuitive session or the Power and Pleasure Intensive. And like I said, BLISS is coming. The Love Relationship Buddhist class is coming for February, so look for that. I'll announce it as soon as the page is up. I'll tell you guys. It'll probably be by tomorrow. And then you can join me for that. It'll be 4 weeks. Live class. Recordings will be available if you can't make the live calls. And it will be very accessible price point. Probably around $450 for 4 weeks. So that's all I've got. Love you guys so much. If you've got any comments like that this really resonated, always feel free to drop them below. I love to read you guys' comments. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one.